On today's show, we interview the book marketing expert of choice for the legendary motivational speaker, Les Brown.
It was hard laying on the floor of the Penobscot building, looking out of the window, daydreaming, saying, Les, can you do this? Can you make this happen? I used to listen to tapes day in and day out about See You at the Top, my great friend Zig, and Dennis Waitley and different other motivational speakers, and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And Dexter saying, don't let nobody steal your dream. I used to ask myself, can I do this? And something said within me, you're the one.
She's also representing the best-selling author and the top podcaster of the Profit First podcast, Mike Michalowitz. Her name is Amber Vilhauer, and her game is marketing books.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing a woman who can help you with websites, marketing, and book launches, and much, much more. Amber, welcome onto the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
I am fantastic because I love what I do, and part of that is getting to talk to you and all of your amazing listeners, so thanks for having me.
All right, let's clear the air here right away, because I know there's somebody out there who's Googling you right now. They saw your show come up today on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio. Give us the correct pronunciation of your last name. What is the correct? What is the official correct pronunciation of your last name? So the listeners out there who are trying to sound it out are going to get it right.
It is Vilhauer. Joel Kahn used to call me Amber von Vilhauer. But sometimes people will spell it as Hower, but it is actually Vilhauer.
Are there people in your extended family that pronounce your last name differently, or is everybody universally agreed that Vilhauer is how we say it?
Actually, I think people just avoid it entirely, Clay.
Okay, nice.
I haven't even heard anybody mispronounce it. They just try not to say it.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Now, you've had a ton of success at this point, and I know a lot of people are going to ambervilhauer.com right now to check out more about you. It's ambervilhauer.com. Amber, obviously A-M-B-E-R, Vilhauer, Vilhauer.com. You've had a lot of success, but take us back to the beginning. What was your life like growing up, and where did you grow up?
Yes, people tend to look at influencers or successful people and think, wow, they were just born that way. They have their stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not the case for me. So I was not the straight-A student, teacher's pet, happy person that you see today. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, loving family, had every opportunity. Except for some reason I was targeted in school and I was not well liked. I was not well received. I experienced bullying. I felt really lonely. I was the girl that would eat lunches alone or hide in the bathroom. And when you have that experience growing up, it's just horrible, Clay, because you feel like you don't have a voice. And even if you do have one, you don't want to use it. And you just try to stay below the radar. And how that then kind of grew into my lacking confidence, my not wanting to reach out and get to know people. I just suffered a lot. And it wasn't until about my early 20s that I got this job selling Cutco cutlery that changed my life. That company opened me up and got me to see who I really am. And the rest is history after that, really.
You are one of the many guests that we've had who got their start selling Cutco knives. Some of our frequent listeners will know this. I keep hearing this over and over again, but yet there are some people who had the same training and they reflect about their time selling Cutco at, with bitterness, not a place of betterness. It seems like all the successful entrepreneurs we've had on the show love Cutco knives, but a lot of people do a Google search for working at Cutco, and they say that the experience was not favorable. Why do you think so many successful people credit the training they got at Cutco Knives as being favorable when so many people who are not doing so well with their career so far are saying that Cutco was not a good thing?
I think like with most things in life, you get out of it what you put into it. And for me, when I showed up, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to talk or sell or anything else, really. And so I just did what they told me to do, and it worked. And not only did I end up being one of the top sales reps in my office out of my training class in that first weekend, but that recognition that I got reinforced, I just do what they tell me to do, and it works. And that is exactly what I did. I just did more of it. And by the end of that summer, I finished number 2 in my office. I was competing at a national level. I went into management. I started breaking national records in management, and it just kept growing from there. And I put a lot into it. I was all in because I wanted to know what I'm really made out of. And that company supported that mission. But I think there's a lot of people in life that just aren't ready for that. And they want to kind of sit on the sidelines or have other people do the hard work. But that's not my path.
Well, walk us through how to sell a Cutco knife. I want to hear you, because you can teach people how to sell books and how to sell books and books and books and books. You're so good at helping people launch their marketing and their websites. We're going to get into that, but I want to know the brass tacks. How do you sell a Cutco knife?
Thank you, because it's all related. And first of all, you have to have belief in your product. That's number one. And it is easy to believe in Cutco because it's so superior. It's very quality. And the way that they teach you to do the presentation, the quality speaks for itself. I don't really have to say a whole lot except for describing the features and the benefits and the facts, really. But the magic part unfolds itself naturally inside of the demonstration. So if you have full belief in your product and it sort of sells itself, then it becomes more about building a relationship with the person that you're talking to. And that is the same rule that I apply today. Even right now with you, Clay, I'm building a meaningful relationship with you, and that's what matters to me first. So in those meetings, I would sit down, and the first thing I would do before I ever even talked about Cutco is I would get to know the person sitting in front of me. What was it that made magic show up in their eyes when they would just light up and go on and on and on about their kids or their dogs or the trip they just went on or the thing they just bought? And we would spend time really connecting in that way. Then I would show the product that sold itself, and then I would make a sale. And then after that, they would refer me to many of their friends because they liked me so much and they believed in the product. And if it was enjoyable for them, they had no problem sharing that with other people. So basically, to sum up, I knew that building relationships was a really important aspect of it, and then I wanted them to do word-of-mouth advertising. So my job actually was really easy, and I got paid really well.
What kind of questions would you ask when you're sitting, in the living room? Were you usually sitting at a living room or a kitchen table when you were presenting?
Yeah, I tried to do it by the kitchen table because I would ask them to go get food from their refrigerator that we could cut up and whatever.
And then what kind of questions would you ask?
Creative on the spot.
What kind of questions? What kind of questions would you ask to build that rapport?
Well, you can actually tell a lot about a person the minute you walk into their home. So the first thing when they first open up the door, "Hi, you must be Amber." I look them in the eye, I'm shaking their hand, and I'm immediately looking around. There might be a dog that comes up to my lap, and "Oh my gosh, you have a dog. What's the dog's name?" I mean, you're just literally looking for cues, anything right out of the gates that you connect with yourself. "Oh, I have a dog, and so how long have you had yours?" And now we have something in common, and I just keep listening to them. And I keep trying to find things that get them more and more and more excited in the conversation. And the more excited I get them, the more connected we are. And then the rest is so natural and easy.
But if you don't have rapport, then the whole thing doesn't work. I mean, you have to kind of crack the egg, right? You got to build that rapport right away. Were you kind of a funny rapport builder?
No.
No, you didn't use a lot of humor.
No, not too much. I mean, I didn't really have to. You're meeting with a lot of housewives, and they are naturally nice people, and so I tend to match their temperament. So if somebody was very excitable, then I would elevate my energy to be excited with them. If somebody was calmer, then I would calm my energy down or my, presence down to kind of meet them where they are too. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. I did definitely have clients that were jokesters, and then it was like, okay, got to turn up that dial. I would have other people that I would walk in and they were rushed. They weren't in the mood. They were just turned off. And so then I had to meet them where they were, start the presentation right away, and then I had to start building rapport throughout the demonstration. And when I would crack a smile, I would just build off of that, and I would keep building and building until the end. They loved me.
How much of your success was related to maybe doing door-to-door sales of the Cutco knives, or was all of this referral-based, or where'd you get your leads?
It was only referral-based because early on at that time in the company, when I started working there, the laws had changed where you were required to only meet with referrals. You had to get good at building rapport and asking for referrals.
Okay. Now, where were you living at this time in your life?
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. And you're selling Cutco knives. And how old were you at this time?
I started when I was 18 years old, and I was going to college at the time. So this was just a part-time job that turned into a major passion of mine. And that ultimately led to they invited me out to Denver to help run the division. So now I'm a 21-year-old, and I am helping to launch new district offices. I'm recruiting heavily every single week. I'm running management training meetings for the region.
Really?
So things grew pretty quickly.
And were you doing these training meetings at like a Panera Bread or at someone's house or at a corporate office? Or where were you doing these trainings in Tucson?
Always the corporate office. Yeah, every district manager had to open up, lease office space, and they had a receptionist. It was a formal business. It was just young people operating them.
Well, I'm on your website right now, ambervilhauer.com, and it prompts a few impromptu questions here. What work have you done with, on your site, it shows some of the people you've worked with. Another guy whose name is commonly mispronounced, but Mike Michalowitz, the Profit First author, or Les Brown. What kind of work do you do with these people?
Actually, you brought something up in the very beginning about common mispronunciations. If you Google Mike Michalowitz and find a way to his website, in his logo, there's like a little audio icon where you can listen to the common mispronunciations. I'm going to click it right now. And it is hilarious.
I'm going to click it right now. I'm clicking right now.
It's pronounced Mike Michalowitz. Well, usually. Click again for some
Here we go.
Beer lovers call him Mike Michelob Schmitz.
Nice.
Farmers call him Mike, my cow has tits.
Whoa, Shunda.
River dancers call him Mike, my clogging and splits.
Wow. And
haters and old high school friends, which may be one and the same, call him Mike, my Michalowitz.
Wow. So
that's my favorite one.
So what is your relationship like with Mike and with Les Miles?
Mike and I are super close. I am currently his book launch director. We are gearing toward an April 28th launch of his next book, which is called Fix This Next. And Mike and I share a common friend. We've known each other for years. And we also host a 2-day live event together called Author Up Live, which teaches authors how to market and launch their book based on the marketing and launch I'm doing for Mike. And so we're very good friends. We do all sorts of fun things together. Les Brown was also a client, launched his book, made it a #1 bestseller, a book called Fight for Your Dreams that he did years ago. And so now I've launched about, 30, 35 #1 bestselling books on Amazon. That was something that I did years ago. A publishing company out in California asked me if they could pay me to teach me how to launch books so that I could do it for them. And I said, sure, I'll do that. I mean, that was back then, the early stages of my business, when I said yes to everything, because I was looking for where was all of this taking me? What did I want to do? And it ended up being a total blessing. Out of those early launches for books, I started to learn a lot about marketing, and I was also studying other trends, trying out different things. And, then you start to get more advanced with your marketing and your launches. And now, with Mike, our goal is to sell 10,000 copies of his book just the first week.
10,000.
So the book launches keep getting more advanced.
Now, you have had a lot of success as a book marketing expert, but when did you first figure out what you wanted to do professionally, and how did you go about starting your company?
Honestly, I sort of fell into it. Once I was about 5 years into Cutco and into management, I felt like I had gotten as much as I was wanting to get out of that company. So I left. I got this random side gig until I figured out what I wanted to do next. And that random side gig was event planning. And it was these two people that were putting on a local event in Denver, teaching entrepreneurs how to get money into their business and how to market online. They had some of the top internet marketing experts at that time coming in, talking about Google AdWords and SEO and blogging and keywords. I was so fascinated. I thought, now this is a challenge, and I love a good challenge. So I went home and I taught myself code. I set up my own website. I started blogging about my discovery and findings on how to get results online. And I started working with the publishing company to launch their books. And I started building websites for their authors and started getting other companies to send their clients my way so that I didn't have to stress out about where my next client was coming from. Meanwhile, I just got to test and play and see what worked online, and it just continued to evolve from there. But it really wasn't until maybe 5 years into my 10-year journey with this company where I thought, maybe I'm onto something here, and actually started to take it really seriously.
What kind of event planner did you work for at the time? Was it like for birthdays or weddings, or what kind of event planner?
No, it was just me, myself, and I. I saw an ad, I saw a need, and I said I can run these events because I was running them back when I did Cutco as a manager.
Really?
We would host these 300, 400-person events.
So did you see an ad for someone looking to hire an event planner, or what kind of ad did you see? I just want to kind of understand this because you are a very malleable human who seems to, with grace and ease, switch careers.
Yes. Actually, kind of a funny story. This couple was looking for an assistant, somebody to come walk the dog and check the mail. And I thought, well, that's easy, until I figure out the next thing. So day one of this easy job, they say, we're running this event. Take a look at our brochure and tell us what you think, because they knew I had studied graphic design in college. Well, I took a look at their brochure and I thought, oh man, this brochure is awful. So I went home and I redesigned the entire brochure, then typed up a 3-page document about why I felt this new brochure was going to get them better results. And that next day, when I handed it to them, they asked if I would work for them full-time, starting with running this event. We actually did 2 back-to-back. They had me involved. They had 7 different companies, so they had me involved in all sorts of things. But as a result of these events, I decided that maybe I would give it a shot at having this website agency.
So then from there, how did you go about, how did you go from having a website agency to become somebody who is working with really, some people who are very notable? The Profit First book is legendary. Les Miles, everybody knows him. How did you go from there to working with these big names?
It's all about relationships, my friend.
Okay.
And I think being kind to people, delivering value first, as Bob Berg of The Go-Giver would say, one of my favorite books. I'm really somebody that is intuitive. I'm here for others. I am in service. I'm smart. I continue to research and learn. And I have a mind that can make connections really quickly. And so when you combine all of these things in the building rapport, I would have a relationship with Clay. And let's say that you and I really hit it off. We find a commonality. You're going to start to think, oh, maybe I should refer Amber to so-and-so who's getting their book launched. Or, it just happens really organically. Word of mouth is the most powerful form of advertising. And it just so happens that a lot of people are singing my praises because I give to them and I love. And that makes all the difference.
Do you eat anything other than fish oil? I'm looking at your photo here on your website. Do you eat entirely just kale and fish oil?
I can't stand fish oil.
Really?
I'm actually not a big fish person at all, but kale occasionally. I do eat.
You look
pretty
like
healthy,
you live
but
on kale. Is kale the only thing you eat with a side of fish oil?
No.
Okay,
I
no.
think it is. I think it is just working out and eating well and having balance.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, so let's talk about this now. So you go out there. How did you get your first 10 customers? Was it all word of mouth then? All of your first 10 customers were word of mouth?
I would say mostly yes, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking. So when the publishing company came to me and asked me to launch their books, I started to see that their authors needed website development. So I went to the publishing company and I said, hey, while I'm launching these books, why don't you send your authors to me and I'll build their websites and give you a commission? They loved that idea. And then that's when the idea was born to me to develop collaborations or strategic partnerships with other companies. So then I did that for a local web development company. They could just outsource some people directly to me. Then as one of my first 10, I do have to include this, there was a Canadian company that was starting up a blog, and they found me organically through Google. I had been blogging a bunch. They found me and asked if I would help to manage their guest blogging program. And I said, sure, I can do that. Again, back when I was saying yes to everything. And so it was pretty organic, though. I had a ton of word of mouth. As soon as I had my first clients, they would refer me to others.
Well, I want to make this very actionable for the listeners out there. The blogging thing, I find that blogging is a lot like taking a message in a bottle. You know, you throw the message in the bottle, poof, into the ocean. And because you don't get an immediate response, you might stop throwing messages and I'm not encouraging people to litter the ocean with messages and bottles, but working on this. But eventually, I mean, if you threw enough of them out there, eventually somebody's going to find the bottle. What kept you encouraged to keep writing your blog? Was it a daily blog or a weekly blog? And then what kept you encouraged to keep writing it when you didn't see immediate results?
My writing was a little sporadic, but because I was so excited about the things I was learning, and then I would go just turn that into a blog post, it happened probably more frequently than, say, weekly, which is what I do now. I think that, you know, I knew the value of content marketing just through what I learned at that event that I ran. And so I knew that eventually it would pay off. I knew it was not going to be a short-term exchange, and so I would just have to stick with it because Google wants to see that you're consistent and you're frequent and you can go the long term. But because most people give up, that actually gives me an advantage because then I start to get Google to pay attention to me even further after a certain period of time. So I also have learned that my particular audience, they're watching me very closely, but they don't engage at a high level. When you're dealing with higher performers, they're not spending a bunch of time commenting on blogs. They want the information and they want to go take it to action. So I think part of it is knowing who your audience is.
You just said you have like so many knowledge bombs per capita. I love this. You said Google wants consistency, and I wrote a book on this called Search Engine Domination that so many of our listeners have downloaded or purchased, where we talk about this and we provide case studies of clients who've been able to grow their companies by 40%, 60%, 70%. And we point out companies like, I'll just give a few, but fullpackagemedia.com or shawhomes.com, where this home builder grows from $37 million a year of revenue to $80 million of revenue, one of my long-term clients. But the consistency with which they add content is so important. Talk to me about the consistency and why that matters for Google as well as for the people that actually use your website.
Well, I mean, for the people that are using your website, imagine it this way, that you are literally conditioning people, right? So if you want an audience that it feels like you're only around some of the time and they can't really get a good read on you, that's not how I want my audience to perceive me. I want them to look at me as stable because that's who they want to invest in when it comes time to delivering a particular outcome. So you really are conditioning the marketplace on what to expect from you, a certain level of professionalism, a certain level of I have my stuff together, and that's important. It grows confidence and trust. For search engines, I like to think about it like every time I publish a blog post, I'm sort of slapping Google a little bit, like, hey, buddy, pay attention to me. And I want a lot of slaps, right, so that Google continues to see me and pay attention to me. And the more that happens, the more my rankings start to increase. Because the reality is content is the backbone of the internet. It is what keeps Google valuable and in business. And they want to stay valuable and in business. So the more you're publishing these blog posts, it's making them more valuable. They're going to reward you with traffic, which helps grow your business. So it's just important. And the last thing that I'll add too, sometimes with blogging, it's almost like you're working after an indirect result. And what I mean is, I've had very large strategic partners choose to do a collaboration with me because they've seen my consistency in content marketing. They've seen that effort. They see that I'm here for the long term and I'm willing to put in the work. So even though that wasn't necessarily like a website sale, that was a relationship that produced hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because they wanted to see that from me. Speaking is the same thing.
Now, Amber, my good friend and co-host and partner, Dr. Zellner, is in the booth. Dr. Z, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Hi, Amber. How are you doing?
Oh, hey. Nice surprise. Glad to have you here.
He owns a bank.
Oh, stop it. Would you stop? Why do you focus on that? I only own like a tenth of it. And then I've started all these great businesses from scratch, and now that's...
I feel like that's your... I just feel like when you tell someone that you own a bank, that's like a really... They go, what? You know? But he also was an optometrist, and then he also is still an optometrist, and he owns an auto auction and a durable medical equipment company, and he's a phenomenal dancer. He's a sleep center.
But my favorite thing is my thoroughbred horses. I have a horse ranch. That's my favorite thing.
And I want to ask you, Z, when you look at this, you're on her website here. You're seeing Amber Vilhauer's website. Does she look credible to you?
She absolutely does. Yes, of course.
She looks credible. Okay.
So I was holding my breath there for a minute. That was scary.
No, she's a beautiful young lady, and she looks very credible. I love her website. It looks.
She only eats
good.
kale.
Scale your online business. I love that.
Yeah,
giving you strategy, systems, and speed.
Now,
That's
Amber,
good.
I want to ask you this because you said something, and I want to get Z's take on this too. You said that high net worth individuals don't typically engage a lot on social media. Amber, I agree with you, but can you please explain what you mean by this? Because I think a lot of our listeners out there, I think of engineers, doctors, dentists, they're chasing an impossible dream. They're an engineer, and a lot of times they'll ask me, Clay, I'm not getting a lot of engagement on my social media posts. And I'm going, yeah, Holmes, because Holmes Skillet, you are a doctor or a dentist or an engineer, and a lot of people who are, building a hospital aren't on social media all day engaging and going thumbs up on architectural renderings. But can you kind of explain what you mean by that? Because that's a powerful knowledge bomb for somebody out there.
Well, the way I like to look at it is that we all want information. We all want to be educated. We all want to know the shortcuts. We all want to know what are we missing, right? That is why content marketing is so valuable, because people will always type in questions into Google, or they'll be looking at social media posts trying to find out what they're missing. So there is a lot of value, and people are watching, but they're not necessarily engaging. And it could just be that they're not a social person. They don't see value in it. What does it give back to them to give you a thumbs up, right? They may not get the point of it, or they just may be busy. And so it doesn't mean that people aren't watching. That's why people need you to be consistent and frequent. They need you to be stable and responsible and, taking action in your marketing. But if you're not getting engagement, I wouldn't totally freak out, because it could be that they need that information and they will move forward with you. But if you just think, oh, well, nobody's paying attention, so I'm just going to stop, well, then you better find some other really amazing way to market your business, because that's a big one you don't want to lose out on.
It just occurred to me, Z, that I'm a really, really terrible person, because I listen all the time to the Ross Golan podcast.
Yes.
But, Devin, I don't think I'm a subscriber. I don't think Devin, I passive-aggressively muted you. I'm not a subscriber to one of my favorite podcasts. Devin, could you try to help me fix that while we're on the show here?
I can do it.
I would like to subscribe to the And the Writer Is podcast, because I listen to it all the time, and then to the Oprah Masterclass, because I listen to that too. And I want to subscribe to TD Jakes.
So why didn't you subscribe?
Because I think I'm one of the people she's talking about. I just don't do that kind of thing.
Right, you are. You're definitely one of those.
I don't subscribe. I don't comment on anything. I don't leave comments on things. I just don't. It's not my nature. See, it's not my nature.
I do very rarely. I mean, I will actively try a couple times a week to look through social media, just a couple minutes at a time, like a few things, smile or whatever. But other than that, it doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. I just don't have a strong
here's the deal.
To do that.
I'm going to guilt you into tweeting at me today, and I'm going to guilt myself into tweeting at you, and that way we each have some sort of interaction so neither one of us is depressed.
Yes, love it.
All right, nice. Now, Z, explain to me, why aren't you on social media all day commenting, liking, sharing, friending? Why aren't you doing that? I mean, you do own a bank.
Because that's a job. And
What?
I've worked hard not to have a job. I mean, I know people that spend hours on there, are talking, discussing issues and discussing things and spending time on those. And then I'm just like, why? What's the point? I mean, you work hard to be able to go do the things you want. I mean, I do very, 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 very little on social media, and it's because I don't want to. I mean, it's kind of frustrating sometimes to get on there and see all the back and forths and all the tit-tats and all these people that are just outrageously about one thing or outrageously about something else, and you're just kind of going, I don't even want to put that. Ignorance is bliss. And so I like going through my little life, being ignorant of some of the debates and challenges of some people. I get it for a business, why it's a powerful, the Google, thank you, Al Gore, the
Google.
internet. And I know that it's part of the new, when I grew up, it wasn't around. We didn't know anything about it. You didn't have to use it to market your business. But now there is a component of that. So I have people that do that for my businesses, but that doesn't mean, now that where I am in my life, where I have to physically step in and do it. But, and I tell you what, every now and then one of those, when a good review slips through, it gets to me. It's like, yeah, we're so good. I love this.
Yeah.
The world loves me. I mean, we're really doing wonderful
they love
things.
your optometry
oh, my
clinic.
gosh. Just warm,
They love
fuzzy.
that.
And then every now and then when those bad reviews come through, and you're just like, what the? How can they? What? What's going on?
It can steal your joy if you're not careful.
I know, it can.
Now,
so,
Charles, I want to ask you this question. We have Charles Kolaw here, Amber, if you're keeping score at home here. Charles Kolaw, he and his wife, they own 3 large gyms, like fitness centers, kind of like Chick-fil-A meets Planet Fitness. And Charles just got back from his cruise. We've got this wonderful lady who, Amber, she is a book marketing expert, and she works with the guy who wrote the Profit First book and Les Miles and other big names. I want to ask you, though, Charles, why don't you spend the vast majority of your day on social media friending people, commenting? Why don't you spend the vast majority of your day doing that?
The vast majority of that time is not revenue producing, and so I focus more on those revenue producing activities for us. And that
you heard it here, folks.
So
it's not revenue producing. Okay, so let's talk about some revenue producing things. You have written this great book, Elevate Every Experience. Talk to me about this book you're working on, Elevate Every Experience. What at first inspired you to sit down and to write this book?
Well, I have a really unique vantage point in the online marketing world because not only am I out in the world constantly researching and testing, improving and refining, but all of the clients who come to me, we've launched nearly 1,000 websites now, and they all have their unique vantage point on what's happening in the marketing world. And they're complaining to me about various things. And then I have my colleagues, these are some of the biggest influencers in the world, coming to me, and they're complaining to me about certain things. So I have all of this data, and the data shows me that we are in trouble. The online marketing world is crazy right now because we are supposed to be connected more than ever before, right? Thank you, social media. Yet we are all feeling more disconnected. We are feeling isolated and alone, and it's causing depression and other things.
Right.
And so I'm also seeing all of these internet marketers telling people, oh, it's just about the size of the list. Get that list as big as you can and push them through the funnel. There is no real conversation about the fact that these are human beings out there, and we have an opportunity to create real impact and change. And so I don't treat people like they're a part of some list, like they're a part of some number. I want to treat them like a real human being. And my feeling is that marketing to the masses with that old mentality is what is going to start killing businesses. And it's certainly not setting a good example for the new business owners coming in. So this book is all about how to develop personal connection to scale your influence. And the reason that I call it Elevate Every Experience is because when writing this book about how to create connection with people, I could feel the naysayers saying, well, sure, Amber, it's easy for you because you're pretty or you have a good smile or whatever. And so I had to come up with a way of explaining this that anybody could adopt. And when I'm trying to make a connection with somebody, all I'm really trying to do at the end of the day is just elevate the experience. So if you and I are dialoguing right now on this podcast, how can I make you smile? How can I make your day? How can I make you feel seen and heard and loved and valued? And if I can just do that once, then we're off to the races. We have this relationship, and I can offer you my services, or I can extend my network to you, and we can just do more powerful things together than we can alone. So that's what the book is about.
You know, one way to really wow me and to build a connection is to wow me with your vast knowledge of womp rats. Do you know a lot about womp rats, Amber?
I can't say I do. Darn.
Okay. Did you watch
Swing
a
and a
lot of
miss.
Did you watch a lot of Star Wars growing up?
A little bit, yes. I mean, I love Star Wars, but couldn't say I'm a Star Wars junkie.
Okay. Well, there's a scene. Z, are you into womp rats?
Of course. Who's my what respected Star Wars aficionado?
Charles, do you
is
find
Exactly.
yourself being down with a lot of womp rats?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about that.
Let me cue it up real quick. This is Amber. Let me give you a great now. This is a great scene from the first Star Wars here.
Station is heavily shielded and carries a firepower greater than half the Starfleet.
You know, and so Luke now he's like, okay. He turns to his good buddy he grew up with, and he says the following line. And I watched the behind the scenes in Star Wars here where they explain the scenes. And George Lucas didn't want anyone to know that Darth Vader was in fact Luke's father, because he thought they would spill the beans. So they were only allowed to read the lines for that day's taping. So Luke says Mark Hamill, the actor, says he looks at the lines for this scene, and he says it says the word womp rat. To which I ask, George, what is a womp rat? To which he says, it doesn't matter. Just read it with more intensity. Go faster. So here's the line.
Yes.
Here's the line.
I love it.
Let me
Its
cue it up here.
defenses are designed
Luke-
around should be.
Let me see here.
Well, the
I got to accuse him. So good. It's worth it.
Point. Target area is only
Here we go.
2 meters wide.
we
It's
go.
a small thermal exhaust port right below the main port.
Here we go. Oh, yeah.
The shaft leads directly to the reactor system.
Uh-oh.
A precise
Oh, here we
hit
go.
will
That's how
start
you
a
blow
chain
it up.
reaction which should destroy
And
the
everyone's
station.
going, this is impossible to blow up the station. No. But not Luke.
2 meter
Only
rat.
a
That's a
precise
big rat.
hit
Here he
will
goes.
set up a chain reaction. The shaft is ray shielded, so you'll have to use proton torpedoes.
That's impossible, even for a computer.
But Luke says that's not impossible because
It's not impossible. I used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home. They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
They're not much.
he's the bullseye womp
That's
rats.
a big rat.
And Amber's explaining in the interview, he's like, I didn't know what a T-16 was. I didn't know what a womp rat was. And I didn't know you could bullseye one, but that was my line.
That
so.
is hilarious.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about taking the experience to the next level. I'm going to throw out some ideas here for you, or throw out some concepts, and you tell me how important it is to make it better. If I'm working on a book with you, how important is that cover?
Oh, my gosh. It's extremely important.
Do you work on the
extremely
covers?
important.
Do you help your clients with the covers?
I don't personally design them, but I absolutely critique them, and I demand that they are better than the first drafts appear.
So you're saying people do judge a book by its cover? Is that what you're?
100%.
Oh my goodness! Wow! That's just been shot away right there.
So you're saying the cover has to be good. Let's talk about the website that you built for these authors. Do you ever see people with a great book and a great book cover, but a bad website, or vice versa?
Constantly. Yeah, authors they want to sit in their cave writing their books, typically, the average author. They really don't have the technical skill set to really understand how a website needs to be displayed to convert. They don't like this social media thing. They don't want to build an email list and have to be responsible for emailing those people. The business side of authorship is really intimidating and daunting for most authors.
Why?
Because it's a lot of work, and they're creative beings. They just want to sit and create and write where it's quiet and easy. It's easier for them. When we go into the online world, it's sort of like, you're stepping out onto a plank and there's a bunch of sharks below. I mean, that online world there's so much to it. It'll gobble you right up. You'll get completely overwhelmed really easily, which is why it's important to seek out people that you like, that align with your core values, that you trust, and just listen to their advice, because everybody's going to have different advice.
Yep.
So, it's okay that my following wants to really just hear advice from me instead of 50 other people, because then you're going to get competing advice. It's going to be overwhelming. But there's a lot of advice out there, that's for sure.
Now, let's say I have a book right now, and it's already written, and it's, Give us some, without giving away all your secrets in your book. I know you want to save some of the secrets, or maybe you want to give away all your secrets. I don't know. But what would be some practical steps that all the listeners should take if they do have a book? Because we have a lot of listeners that listen to this show that write books. If they have a book, it's already written, and it's let's assume it's good. What can they do to market their book?
So if you already have a book that's published, I will start by saying it is possible for you to do a relaunch of that book, and you can set a campaign date. You can rally your online community. You can engage some of your friends and partners and colleagues and have a big online splash to relaunch the book. A lot of people don't know that, so I'd like to start there. So, and you could have sold 10,000 copies of your book up to this point, but you decide to have a relaunch, have a big campaign day, and then sell another 10,000. You can continue to do this. There's no limit to how much you should relaunch your book. A lot of authors think it's sort of a one-and-done thing, but the real value is in continuing to sell that book for years to come. A lot of authors are going to sell more copies of their books through speaking engagements. So if you're that type of author, you can be really successful in getting the conference to buy enough copies of your book to fill all of the attendees coming in.
Yeah.
You're selling copies in bulk. A lot of podcasts are great to be on. They are pushing a lot of books. The other thing is in your relationships with the people that you know and asking them to do a mailing. Can you send a little promotional email out to your email following about my book? And here's why you would want to do that. I think part of the mindset that authors need to get into is not to feel bad about asking people to share their book, because ultimately it's not about you as the author. This is about the people that you have the opportunity to serve that are reading your book. And if you do things in service of them, then you can overcome, any gross feelings about asking for help or getting more speaking gigs or asking your friends to send out a mailing. But you have to take action either way.
So you think that the bias that the average person has is they don't want to harass people with email marketing or any kind of marketing at all. They just want to sort of not promote the book because they risk maybe, feeling bad about oversharing it or that kind of thing? Is that kind of the
I really
bias?
do. I really do, because authors tend to be more quiet, calm people. They're not, there are some salespeople that could walk into any freaking room and sell you anything. Authors don't typically have that kind of grit. They are gentler souls usually. And so you have to find a marketing plan that suits who that person is and grow some of their courage, grow their grit and confidence. But my job is really to give them tools and approaches that make sense to them so that they can ask without getting in their own way about it.
So what are some of the steps you're going to be taking with Mike to help him launch his newest book?
Well, Mike and I have been working together almost a year on this launch so far, and we still have another 4 months to go.
Okay.
So one thing to be thinking about, if you want to have a significant launch, you need a significant amount of time to prepare for that. And we've been doing anything from running live events to drum up kind of some ambassadors that are going to help us to promote the book and get buy-in early on.
Yep.
We've done webinars to help him bring in well over 6 figures in revenue to help it reinvest back into the campaign. A lot of my work comes in building relationships and getting connections for Mike. So if he already has a really heavy-hitting influencer, I might have a conversation with that person to figure out how they want to contribute to the launch and what we can do back to them to make it more of a win-win. And I found that a lot of big influencers have a hard time keeping up with relationships. So that's one of my great strengths, is to keep nurturing those relationships, keep them informed of what's happening within the launch, give them some wins so that they feel compelled to give back in an even bigger way to support the launch when it's time. And the other thing that I would say, big focus for this launch is going to be on live streaming. And so we've been preparing Mike on different things that he can be doing in the meantime to sort of build up momentum in his social media platform for that. But I have been refining and testing a live streaming protocol on how we can get his other colleagues and influencers to do a live stream with Mike, and then how to have that go viral. And we've been proving different techniques, and now that's going to be a big component of his launch, April 28th, live streaming.
Live streaming. Okay, so you're a book marketing expert, but you're also a marketing expert. Do you consider yourself more of a book marketing expert or a overall marketing expert for businesses? How would you classify what you do?
Overall marketing, and it just so happens that I can launch a book too. I mean, whether I'm launching a product or a program or a membership, I mean, it's all kind of the same strategies. You pick a day, you get a bunch of people to help you. You want as many sales in one day as you can get. How do we do that? And you have to have a lot of marketing knowledge to prepare for that. You have to be very structured, organized. You have to have that website and the online platform be really dialed in, and you have to be a people person. You have to really know people.
What role do reviews have as it relates to book sales? Do you need a lot of reviews on Amazon?
Yes, it's social proof just like anything else. But interestingly enough, there's a group of people that will only collaborate with you if you have a certain status. And part of that status comes in reviews. So, for example, if you have more than 1,000 Amazon reviews, then, okay, maybe I'll have a conversation with you and see if we can play together. I mean, so there is, just like with on a podcast, if you have more than, 100 episodes on your podcast, that means that this is something really serious to you, let's say. So the numbers do speak, but also in general, I mean, with reviews, as long as you can visually see that the reviews are different versus meaning they're not templated. When I get a range of reviews, then I can usually trust those reviews. And if the reviews are saying overwhelmingly, this is a great book, then I'm going to be compelled to buy it just based on the reviews alone.
Now, if in our case, Z, you and I, we have quite a few shows we've done here, Z. She said,
how many have we done, you think?
Well, she said that if you have more than 100, it shows you're serious.
Okay.
So we have 1,810. Does that mean that we're
seriously crazy?
Really seriously crazy? What does that say?
You're
about
just
it?
sick in the head at that point. I don't even know.
now it won't work with you at that point.
We go.
Okay.
We get that badge. We can wear. Sick in the head. That's not the
sick,
first.
You're sick.
You're sick. You're so sick.
Okay, so Amber, I'm going to have rapid fire questions now from Z and Charles and I around the
Rapid
corner.
fire.
Rapid fire. Here we go. You come across as a very proactive person. That's how I would perceive you. So I want to know, what time do you wake up in a typical day? I mean, what are the first 4 hours of your typical day look like beyond your kale and fish oil breakfast?
I'm waking up usually between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning because that is my only time for self-care. I'm working out. I'm taking my time getting ready, really getting in the mental game. Might be listening to a podcast or a book, or might be watching some Netflix. Who knows? And then I get my son up. I have a little 3-year-old boy who's amazing, and I get him ready for school. And then I hit my office somewhere between 8 and 9, and then we're off to the races.
Oh, Z.
Okay, rapid fire. And mine was
Rapid fire.
actually, and you touched on it. Wow, nice segue. I'm on your website. I'm looking at it. You've got a picture of you and your son. Is the picture on your website really your son, or is that a male little model you hired to take the picture?
He's adorable.
He's
that
a cute
is my
kid.
real son. And Clay, you will like this. My son's name is Clay as well.
Yes.
That all comes full circle.
That's a great
it
name.
all comes full circle.
Humble name.
She is good at
Beautiful
marketing.
name,
She said that's good. Changing the kid's name just for the interview.
The problem
that's
with the
pretty
name
good.
Clay it stands for super humbleness.
Yes, super humble.
And it's hard to just exude super humbleness. You know what I mean? It's hard when you have that much humbleness.
Yeah. Well, at least
to
now
know what to do
there'll
with
be attractive men out there with the name Clay. I mean, that'll be
Right,
good. I mean,
right.
It can't hurt the name.
It
right?
also
It
means
can't hurt the name.
in a literal big head. Large cranium.
Large cranium. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
That's what's why my head is so large.
Amber, seriously, how did you get into all this? Did you just wake up one day? And Clay may have touched on this because I was a little bit tardy coming into the show.
No, you were on time. I was early on the call to her. That's what happened.
Oh,
See, I
okay.
was early.
So how did you? If you've already answered that, just say.
No, but walk us through it some more. We want to know more. Give us the deep, dirty secrets of how you became the book marketing wizard that you are now.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people are out there going, "Wow, that's really cool what she's doing. How did she get there?"
Honestly, well, like I have touched on this in that when you put yourself out into the world and you have courage, other people just tend to start coming in, and you go and you talk to them. They want to teach you what they know, and then you help them with this other thing. I mean, it was honestly very organic. It kind of felt like more divine. It's not like I had a business plan and I went out and I studied or I went to school for it. it really is amazing. Google can teach you a lot. I think the important thing is figuring out who to trust, who to listen to, being really proactive, testing for yourself, not just trusting what some other Joe said, but I actually test it myself. I know what works, and I'm very creative and innovative. And so I have my own spin on things. I test that, and it works. So it's really just hard work, having courage, and being on top of your industry and learning.
I love it. Now, who were some of the early things or people that you did trust? When you said it's learning who to trust, who did you trust? Who were some of the early ones that you were like, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust what I'm reading. I'm going to trust what I'm hearing. I'm going to trust this person or this thing.
Definitely. At that event that I ran, there was a gentleman named Eric Graham, and back then he was known as the conversion doctor. And I knew immediately that I could trust him because he knew everything about his topic. I took copious notes. This was a man, you could tell at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's testing, does the green button work better or the orange button? I mean, he knew everything about conversion. So we developed this friendship, and it started by me just showering him with praise. Thank you so much. I loved your presentation. And
there you go.
He got to know me, and he liked me. The next thing you know, he's one of my greatest mentors. And so I think you can just tell based on the way people present and how detailed they're willing to go with it.
I think that is a very, very important thing you just went over right there. And that is finding someone who's an expert in the area that you want to go into, and then finding a way to burrow in and have them become a mentor. Because a lot of people look at someone and say, that person's really smart. They know what they're doing. Gosh, if they could only be my mentor. Oh, if they could only pick me out of the audience. Please pick me, please pick me. But you were proactive. You got on his radar. You said the right things. You followed up with the right things. And you found a mentor. Because one of the two things that we think people learn is mistakes and mentorship, right? And I think that's a very, very important thing. And Clay, expound on that. How she found the right she found the right sensei.
Well, okay, we all know we could learn from mentors or mistakes, but I'll give an example that happened on Saturday. Z, do you remember the Christmas party that we had on the 60th floor of the tallest building in Oklahoma last Saturday? Do you remember that party?
It's hard to forget, yes.
Okay, so you presented to me a gift which relates heavily to the literary space, and I posted on it on Twitter. We put that out there. And I'll show you the picture here, Z. Here's the picture.
Wow.
Here's the picture. Here's the headline. There we go. And so the book, the headline says, 2019 Christmas Party from Clay to Z with the world's #1 wife, Vanessa, and the world's #1 literary agent, Ifat Reese Jindal. She's the one who started Foundry Media, which represents Elon Musk's book and The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, and Chris Kyle's book. And Z, how did you get her to the Christmas party, my friend? I mean, she is the ultimate literary mentor for me.
Well, I've got some dirt on her, so she kind of had to.
Right.
No, she's best friends with my sister, and we jokingly. I grew up. I have 5 brothers and 1 sister, so there's 6 boys and 1 girl. So she was always kind of the princess of the family, if you will. Right.
Well, I've elected to reach out to her, and thankfully she said yes to represent me on book projects moving forward. Because
but
she's
anyway,
the best.
She is the best, but she's very good friends with my sister. So in our family, we celebrate a holiday within a holiday. So you have Christmas, and then we celebrate. My sister's name is Marianne. We celebrate Mariannemas, which is a celebration around her. So she flew in. We had all these activities and functions and really fun things going on. And then she brought with her. I encouraged her to bring. She did a little girl weekend. Brought Ifat and her other friend, and that came in. And then we surprised you at the party.
It was awesome.
And I was expecting more tears. I was expecting you to really break down a little bit more than you did. But you were stoic. You hung in there.
I
did.
A
tough nut. You're a tough nut to crack.
Now's the time to weep.
There you go. Let it out.
Not
Just
everybody has an Amber in their life, someone that can help them with their business right now. But everybody can have somebody. All you got to do is take that first step, reach out to a mentor. And I have found, Z, if you don't pay somebody, they're probably not going to be super consistent about that ongoing mentorship we need. Mentorship is not just an event. It is an ongoing process. That's why I'm a big fan of hiring people such as an Ifat or such as Wes Carter, the attorney of choice for T.D. Jakes, and Pastor Craig Rochelle and other huge names in the Christian space. I want to pay these people. I worry about the free
the other move is the intern for them and not charge them.
Right.
So you're giving them something. You're giving them something to value. So I think that's very powerful, Amber, that you one of your early, mentors of someone that you saw, you realized, and then you gathered. And that's a challenge. And I tip my hat to you, and I hope everybody listens to that and understands that it just doesn't happen. They just don't sit back and go, gosh, I wish I win the lottery. I wish they call me out of the audience. I wish that they would just come and seek me out because, I've got such a beautiful son. I mean, that's just like, you've got to be proactive, and you went up and you did what you needed to do. You kept going on that, and then that helped lead you into the career path that you're in right now. I think it's awesome.
Amber, do you remember the song I Wish by
Thank
Skee-Lo?
you.
Do you remember the song I Wish by Skee-Lo? Was that a big song for you?
Yes.
Really? How tall are you?
5'2.5".
Oh, wow. So you're taller than
She's
this
a big
guy.
one. She's a big one.
Remember this song?
Hello?
She's taller
I
than
wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl.
Oh, yeah. Come on now.
Wish I had a rabbit
Impressive.
in a hat with a
I got to move on. Okay, now,
I gotta
Charles.
move on.
Oh, my God.
Charles,
Yes.
me back.
we've got a literary expert on the show here. This is a woman who's a marketing expert, has had a lot of success with authors and with business owners. Do you have any final marketing question for Miss Amber?
Yes. What previous experience, like work experience, kind of that you have that would probably helps you in that area of marketing, or maybe internship experience?
Yeah, actually, so I was working in restaurants from 13 to about 17 years old, and I learned a lot about people, didn't like that environment. And then Cutco was the only other job I had. And when I was in Cutco, I learned a tremendous amount about sales and management and relationships and retention and leadership. So I give all of the credit to Cutco.
What is
Cutco? Are you seriously asking what's
Yeah.
Cutco?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Charles,
Sorry.
Who is this guy?
please
No, I'm just
explain
kidding.
the benefits. Because as a dirty business coach guy, I say dirty. I mean, I've been in the trenches for a long time. I need to take a shower at some point. I've hung around a lot of former Cutco salespeople, Charles.
Okay.
I know Cutco in the way you know protein bars.
Oh, my.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Cutco, these knives. Tell us the benefits. I mean, Amber, can these cut through like a shoe?
I gotcha.
Yeah, the high-end kitchen knives. You've seen them.
Yes, I have seen.
They're
this.
all over
Now-
Costco and everywhere else. They've been around forever.
Yep, I got it.
But yeah, so
They're like $1,000.
And that company they hire college students to market their knives. It's a brilliant business model.
Is it? Aren't they like $1,000 for a set?
They can be. They can go up from there. They can
can't
go up
be
or down.
if you want it to be.
And they have unlimited
Yeah.
sharpening,
How much
right?
do you have?
When you buy them, there's unlimited sharpening, right?
I thought they were like a hair cutting thing, so I've been so used to.
Oh,
Yeah, forever.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, can you mail them in to have them cleaned up though, Amber? Can you mail them in? And
Yeah, forever guarantee. They'll sharpen them for the rest of your life. Even if you tip off the handle and break it, they'll replace it for free. I mean, it's like no-brainer investment.
even though you've had massive success after Cutco, did you keep your account active? I mean, can people buy from you right now?
Probably. I mean, within a phone call, for sure, my account would be active. But no, I just send the sales over to my friends. That's fine for me.
Okay, let's do this here. If you are out there and you want help with your marketing, check out ambervilhauer.com. That's Amber, AMBERVILHAUER.com. And Amber, would you be willing to give our listeners a free picture of a Cutco knife for anybody who fills out your
I
form?
would love that. Absolutely. Consider it done.
Okay, and then
Cutco
you have
knife.
you have another free gift beyond just a photo of a Cutco knife. What are other free gifts you have for our listeners out there?
I do, and thank you for letting me do this. But I just believe so passionately about what's happening in the state of marketing right now. I literally just finished recording this video course that goes deep into how you can repurpose your content so that one video can be repurposed for all major online channels to make social media and blogging, all this stuff easier and faster for you without sacrificing quality. But then I also talk about some advanced marketing strategies that you can do too. So that can be found at ambervilhauer.com/marketing course. And so I will give that link over to you as well, Clay.
Miss Amber Vilhauer, this has been an hour of power, and I'll give you the floor, my friend. Do you have any final tip that you want to share with all of our listeners?
Yes. I got this fortune cookie a ways back, and it said, do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. And I can tell you that is something I have remembered every single day. I face my fears, and things just magically unfold, relationships, success, opportunity. So do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. And I want to end with that.
Z, I want to talk about this real
Wow,
fast.
that's
This
pretty
is powerful.
emotional.
Dealing with, the death of fear. Z, I got hardcore rejected here today. Hardcore. I reached out to, I won't mention their name, but someone that I had been chasing for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was told when they looked at the questions.
Do you need a
And
hug?
Amber, by the way, I sent you a lot of the questions in advance, did I not? I mean, so you could preview them and look at them.
Yes.
I sent these people the questions, and they were different, but they're kind of like these questions. And I was told by their handler that the questions were offensive.
Oh, my.
And you know what I did?
Do you need a hug? You look like you need a hug right now.
Yeah, well, because we interview a lot of musicians, and so I asked them a lot of times, how do you monetize your career? We had the songwriter on recently for Bon Jovi.
Oh, yeah.
And he explained to us for every 500 million downloads or 500 million streams, for every 500 million streams of the song Living
on a Prayer. Yeah.
he makes $6,000. That's the math.
That's the math.
And so I had to sit. Yeah, and I'm doing that because I'm trying to bring attention to the fact that these artists don't get paid hardly anything unless it's on traditional radio. It's my, it's kind of building awareness to this idea. And so the agent was like, that is inappropriate, and we don't appreciate your intentions. And so I said, well, I apologize that you were offended, but I don't apologize for the questions because they're not offensive. So can they be on or what? And they did not have that. So I got a little rejection, but people don't realize to have it for every, one great guest we have on the show like you, there's a lot of rejection there. See, there's a lot of rejection.
You know what? When we're done with the show, I'm gonna give you a hug.
Okay.
You look like you need a hug.
I wish I could give you a hug too, man.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
Amber, do you have a favorite musician, just to kind of wrap up? I just have to know.
Favorite musician? Oh,
Or
geez.
band or song?
I'm going to have to go old school here.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews Band. I'm going to have
Really?
to.
That's a safe answer. It's a safe answer. I mean, you got to admit that.
Dude, it's for real.
I believe you, but I mean,
fan.
it's really. I mean, nobody's gonna be offended by that. I mean, if anybody's offended by Dave Matthews being in the band, I mean, that's a problem,
Okay.
right?
Well, Amber, thank you for
A
sharing
lot
with
of
us.
bands. Yeah, you have like a one-hit wonder. You have a great album. 21 Pilots is super hot in my list too. So I don't know if that provides more comfort to you.
Wow.
Get a little edgier there.
Nice.
Watch out now.
Well, Amber, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate your time more than we could possibly express.
Thank you, Clayton, Z, and Charles.
You
Yes.
bet.
Take care.
Great talking with you.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2,